Victoria Samuel. You're welcome. Thank you. It's also I'm glad to have you here. Kindly chat in the comment section if you can hear me. So you can type HEAR, so I will know that you can hear me clearly. You're welcome. So today's topic is the health cost I paid to be a women's rights advocate in Nigeria, the deadly impact of anger. So I'll be delving into the impact of unprocessed anger on women's health and using my life, of course, as a case study and looking at why we're noticing more and more older women seem to be passing away suddenly, but then under deeper probe, we realize that they had been battling with a lot of autoimmune illnesses privately or unknown to people in their community. So I want to preface this video with a disclaimer that I am very proud of my efforts as a young advocate in Nigeria. I'm very, very, very proud of the legislative advocacy and all the policy changes that came with those advocacy, especially surrounding sexual and reproductive health rights and justice, sexual and gender-based violence prevention and intervention, also looking at media reportage around these issues, and finally the other women's rights issues like land rights, electoral participation, so many issues, so many causes I've been involved in, even access to safety and reproductive health rights for LGBTQ women. It's just been like a girl has been around the block. So a girl has been around the block. So this video is just basically a personal recount of my own the health costs. Because in this life you are paying for things either with your time, with your energy, with your money, or your attention. That's just the world we live in. And I just hope this video is a guide for young Nigerian women who are interested in advocacy, or just anybody who is participating in human rights, or anybody who feels that their job is slowly killing them, but they feel like maybe that's just an insane thought per se. So enough with the introduction, enough with the disclaimer. And let me share a Bible verse with you. So I will, you know how we do this thing now during our lectures, I will be looking to my laptop, my lecture notes, and I'll be giving it to you hot hot. So let's share a Bible verse to start. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. Ephesians 4:31. So let's just jump right into it. What is anger's impact on the body? I preface it by saying that anger is actually a useful emotion. It's a defense emotion. So oftentimes when we get in a stressful situation, it could be a physically stressful emotion situation, pardon me. A physically stressful could be anything that inflicts physical trauma on the body, from an accident to something even as small as like a you just hit your feet against like the door, something like that. It could be chemical stress, things like maybe you're not well nourished in your body with the food you're eating, or other like chemical issues. And then it could be emotional stress. Emotional stress is a range of things. I will be talking more in depth about that. So oftentimes we see that anger is a defense mechanism, a defense emotion that rises up more like our fight response to defend us. Oh, I was wondering why. I forgot to turn on the ring light. Which one should we use? Let's use this one. This must be so chaotic for whoever's watching the replay. Anyways, well, so anger is an emotion that rises up in defense of us during stressful times, and when our body is in survival mode, and the heart is pumping, it pours all the resources to us, either defending ourselves if we take the fight response, or fleeing if we take the flight response, or freezing if we just have to like stay in a place when we're like going through this particular stress or trauma to defend us, protect us. And then after the stressful period has passed, you are supposed to take time out to rest and heal, so that all the resources your body has pushed towards certain parts of the body to facilitate different emotions for your survival, it can redirect those resources to other parts of your body, your immune system, your nervous system, to calm it down, to regulate it, to feed it, like your brain, whatnot. And neuroscience lets us know that when our thoughts have the power to shape our reality. I know you probably have heard that before, but what we think creates new neural pathways or reestablishes the neural pathways in our brain. And when that is basically established, it changes your behavior as a person, and you begin to look out for that thought pattern in your reality confirmation bias, right? So if I think, oh, I really love pink sunsets, my body is more likely to notice any pink hue on my window pane, and I'm more likely to look out for pink sunsets versus like an orange sunset or a blue sunset or just, a golden sunset, basically, yellow golden sunset. So that's basically just it. And therefore, like our emotions are tied to like our thoughts. The thoughts we think, whether they're happy thoughts, they're sad thoughts, or they're just, thoughts that come up while, the girl is in the midst of her survival thing and whatnot. These thoughts have the power to shape your emotions, and your emotional health greatly impacts your physical health. If you are thinking sad thoughts, bad thoughts, unhappy thoughts all the time, your body will be pumping itself with cortisol, right? The hormone cortisol, the stress hormone cortisol, right? And while that is useful for a particular time to do certain things, consistently doing that, your brain and other parts of your body will begin to interpret certain areas of your body as an external threat. So you see a situation where the body begins to fight itself, which is what you call autoimmune diseases. A couple of them are being more rampant, and it's not a coincidence that the larger number of people who are suffering this are women. Larger number of people who are like patients for kidney issues, liver issues, are women, and it's all linked to emotions. A lot of repressed emotions, and that is connected to how we are socialized in society as women. We're supposed to carry the emotional labor for everybody in our social group. We are meant to be good Nigerian women, support everybody, never complain, always be available, always have a pleasant disposition. So you have a situation where there is a lot of repressed rage. Because I don't really like calling emotions like negative or positive. I feel like it's our actions and like the circumstances around them, right? So preface this by saying, hi, if you're just tuning in, I'm Adese Facial Samuel. You're welcome to my channel or my account. I am a creative entrepreneur. I'm a sexual and reproductive health rights and wellness consultant. I am a lawyer, and I'm also a coach for other women creatives like me. You're welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about the deadly impact of anger on women's health, the emotional health, their menstrual health, the health of their organs, and how that can negatively impact their creativity and stop their bag, aka creating sustainable wealth. So now that we understand what anger really is as an emotion, how it's connected to cortisol, and the impact of our thoughts on our emotional health, and how our emotional health shapes our physical health, let's just dive right in and talk about the connection between like anger and also the liver. So when you are when you're stuck in survival mode, that means your body is stuck in a state of constant stress. Sometimes it's needed. Okay, so I noticed two people are on the live with me. Kindly introduce yourself in the comment section. If you can hear me, kindly indicate that. I'm trying out a new microphone, and I just hope I'm not just talking to myself. So comment in the comment section your name, where you're watching me from. Yeah, and just let me know. Thank you. So let's talk about emotional stress. I was talking about when you're stuck in a state of stress, and I'll give you I have some examples in my note. I wrote when you have an unreasonable deadline, when you have a toxic workplace, when you have body image issues. Oh, I don't like the way my arm looks. I don't like the way I'm short on my hair, stuff like that. When you have debt, like financial debt, owing money to somebody or some people, or experiencing gender discrimination, exhaustion from emotional labor. You're always the one who has to call everybody. You have to organize everything. You have to manage people's emotions and how they express it within a social group, and what that means for the dynamics of the social group, or even your own safety and security as a woman. And then also you have things like just even sitting in Lagos traffic, which can just be so infuriating and so emotionally stressful if you have things to do. Lagos, yeah. So you see that It's no wonder a lot of women are dealing with autoimmune illnesses, are dealing with a lot of repressed anger, because oftentimes that's linked to like immense unrewarded and unsupported emotional labor in their lives. And it's really just so sad. And what does that have to do with the liver, you might probably ask? Now, I explained earlier that our bodies interpret stress that stays with us for a lengthy period of time without us getting the ability to heal as an external threat. So let me paint a scenario. Your immune system is on battery saving mode, but it's like it's hopeful that there will soon be resources. So it's chilling. It's like, yeah, go and fight your war, girl. Yeah, yeah, stand up to your boss, or don't stand up to your boss. You know, whichever way you go, whether it's the fight, the freeze, or the flight response. Like your immune system and your nervous system are just like chilling. They're like, I mean, we would like some light, but like, okay, do your thing, girl. Okay, do your thing, girl. You've not finished doing your thing, girl. Like, your body is still in a stressful place, and then your immune system gets weakened because it's on battery saving mode. And we all know what happens with battery saving mode. The battery keeps going lower and lower and lower till it's dead. Your nervous system is out of whack, is deregulated, dysregulated. And when all those things happen, it impacts our organs, because our organs do not get, one, they begin to overwork. That is, they begin to have to process excess toxins than they normally would have, because oftentimes human beings have the bad habit of supplementing things that they are struggling with other lifestyle choices, like unhealthy eating, being out of sync with your cycle for women. It could also just be alcohol or like narcotics or exposure, things like that. And then the organs that are on battery saving mode, they have to be fighting for their lives to do their work, and they have to make sure you stay alive, and they have to make sure that they are working too, and they have to like just work in an ecosystem. So this is what happens with anger and its impacts on our liver. For example, certain emotions affect certain parts of our bodies. When you are joyful, it has a positive effect on your heart. When you are sad for a long time, it has a negative effect on your heart, because it changes like the way the heart beats, and that's why you see broken hearts syndrome. I do remember coming across a writer who wrote about her mom literally dying, passing from that. May her soul rest in peace. These are real life issues. We see that with women who their husbands leave them for another partner and they just fall apart, because our emotions greatly impact our health. You have the thing with if you're worried, it impacts your spleen. Constant like anxiety and worries impacts your spleen. All these emotions trigger certain cells to go to certain parts of the body to camp there. From camping there, they begin to build like hostels. From building hostels, they build university, and they give birth to grandchildren, and they destroy and wreck the organs. And we on the outside, we're just saying things like, oh, I'm fatigued, oh, I'm breaking out more, oh, I'm gaining weight, or I'm losing weight, or I don't feel so good, I'm always having headache, I'm always falling sick, I have irritable bowel syndrome, these and these and these and these and these, and anger impacts the liver. Now, I was gonna put the tagline for this video to be almost blinded by anger. Is anybody noticing anything different about me in my recent live streams? I'll tell you what it is. Homegirl is not wearing her glasses, and she can see, quite frankly, quite well. I remember a time when I didn't even know my eyesight was crumbling, it was worsening. It's just, I did not even know, I wasn't even aware of that. I was editing my pictures, videos, and they looked like they had this weird sepia look, and I did not even know. So I had to get glasses. And that takes me back to anger, the liver, and the eyes. So when anger negatively impacts the liver is one of the largest organs in the body. It does over 300 functions, I think. Yeah, it does over 300 functions. She's a hardworking girlie. And you know what she does? Her job is to regulate hormones and biochemicals that pass through our bodies. Exactly. Very, very important work. The liver also helps with purifying toxins from the blood, and that is connected to blood flow. And guess who gets blood flow to do their work? Our eyes. Anyone notice that most of the advocacy girlies, we wear glasses? Well, not me. I left you guys behind. Anyway, so we wear glasses. Exactly. And this is not just about eating carrots and getting like vitamin A and E supplements. It's about your emotions, because even if you are making changes and you're not changing your mind, you're not creating new neural pathways in your mind to change how you think, to change and learn how to regulate your emotions, to learn how to regulate your nervous system, to boost your immune system. Whatever carrots you're eating, your emotional health that is in the dustbin will just drag your eyesight back to worse. So the liver is in charge of blood flow, is in charge of cleansing toxins from the blood, and is in charge of blood flow towards the eyes specifically. It also, like I said, it metabolizes and it regulates hormones and biochemicals. And there are certain vitamins and vitamins and biochemicals. Like, let me go get that degree, girly. Like, look at me, lawyer, doctor. So, anyway, so vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin K that are good for the eyes. If your liver is literally fighting for its life to perform its 300 functions, a girl can't even perform like two. She can't even do what she needs to do because she's overworked. But the amount of toxins from like cortisol and other negative emotions in your bloodstream, and then the liver is out here playing tennis but on steroids, like pa 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 pa. It's probably going to be like, vitamin A, K, is that you or is that cortisol? Wear the wig. I don't care. Go back, pa. So your eyes are not getting nutrients to them, biochemicals, and your body is what? In a state of chemical stress. So number one, as women, we're only taught about ovulation, we're only taught about menstruation. We're not taught about the 4 cycles of our menstrual cycle. The menstrual phase, the follicular phase, the ovulatory ovulation phase, the luteal phase, right? There are 4 phases where we, first of all, we bleed, then new follicles are growing, those follicles are ready to be fertilized. If you're fertilized, fine, pregnancy, yay, equal. If not, it is a luteal phase where the egg is dropped, the body is preparing for menstruation, whatever. And in each of those phases, we have hormones that are prevalent, which are they peak, and as they leave that phase, they need to be metabolized by the liver. So now I've moved into how anger impacts the liver, and how, when your liver is overworked or is damaged, how does that impact your menstrual health. Let's talk more about this. And I'll give you an example of this, right? So during your ovulation time, the liver's work is to metabolize estrogen. There's a peak of estrogen, right? And there's also testosterone at that point in time. These are the major hormones in your reproductive cycle at that point in time. And as you're leaving that phase, or while you're in that phase, the liver is supposed to metabolize estrogen. My apologies. And while it metabolizes that particular estrogen, it's supposed to regulate it so that you have hormonal balance. Not only do you have hormonal balance, but also that your body can function like properly. You have enough energy, and you have like the drive, the hormonal support to carry out tasks that you need to execute tasks that you need to do during your ovulation time, because it's a special time in a woman's life. That is your second phase of peak creativity, right? The menstrual phase is when both sides of the brain, both the left and the right, the creative and analytical thinking parts of your brain are balanced, and you can come up with creative ideas that will generate wealth in line with your natural gifts. Ovulation is the time to carry it out, because you plan things during your follicular phase. And I talk about this extensively in my book, my guide, the Niger Cycle Syncing Guide, that is available on Seller. You will find the link in this video's description. So I go in depthly in that book about what is cycle syncing, which is basically aligning all you do, what you eat, your workout activities, your work activities, your social activities, your self-care routines, even like business in activities, to the different phases of your cycle and the hormonal rhythms during that time. Now, if your liver is overworked or damaged, or she's quarter to packing up, because there's no more fuel, because you're angry, because we live in angry times, because your circumstances are just annoying, because your self-concept is in the ground, you don't understand boundaries, you're a people pleaser, you realize that you're dying the way you were raised to behave like a woman, but you're not stopping, you're not changing. You believe if you work even harder to people please, the people you're pleasing will have mercy on you. Okay, well done. And so you see that when the liver is damaged or is overworked, people begin to experience, number one, hormonal imbalance, because the liver can do its major work, which is to what? Regulate and metabolize biochemicals and also, yeah, exactly, hormones. So people have things like painful period or no periods at all. They have things where they have like really heavy blood flow. It's just like, it's so sad, basically. And that impacts your creativity, because if your body is out of balance, out of whack, it becomes a breeding ground. It's in a state of disease, as Lantoinette will say, and it becomes a breeding ground for autoimmune diseases. It becomes a breeding ground for so many other things, and this is also related to PCOS, right? Excuse me. It's also related to insulin resistance. It's also related to painful menstruation. I've mentioned that, and irregular menstruation. So you see that with just not learning to process your emotions, which many of us are not even thoughts, right? With you not learning to process your emotions, you endanger your vital organs, your liver, you could literally go blind. I had to wear glasses. I do recall quite vividly, I think 3 months after I did serious work, like I joined an organization. I had been doing some independent, consulting work, and I'd done it on a couple of projects. But as I went from a particular training somewhat, or it's still on the same issues, because in certain some of those advocacy trainings there's a lot of trauma dumping, because people talk about cases, real life cases and things like that. I went from that to working with an organization, and I tell you that my eyesight, the way it worsened, I had to be using glasses. And this is not only just because of anger and me not processing my anger. This is also related to other things like, did you know that whatever illnesses you're genetically predisposed to, stress, lifestyle choices will aggravate it? I'm saying this slowly because, yeah, I did not know that. So there's astigmatism, like as a genetically predisposed eye condition. I did not have it. I think I'd say, like my dad and my sister use glasses. I never did. But then look at your girlie, 3 months back to back doing the advocacy work, channeling a lot of my anger and emotional, that's anger of like gender discrimination, sexual violence, just like people not even having the right to choose whether or not they want to disrupt their lives to have babies or not. Just being in the mix of it as one, someone who was a lawyer writing a lot of legislative advocacy letters, and also as a development communication strategist who had to package everybody's like traumas and issues and incidences and present them in a proven way to the public and to policymakers to make it to effect changes that are being requested. It was a heavy toll. I was going through a lot of emotional stress, and I knew nothing about cycle syncing. So my body was in a state of chemical stress because I was not adequately fueling my body with all the nutrients it needs to support me. The ghetto, just what? The absolute ghetto. Okay, so let's move on to, I talked about basically the impact of anger on our bodies. I talked about the liver, I talked about the eyes, I talked about our mental health, and I talked about our emotional health. When we do not regulate our emotions, when our thoughts and our positive thoughts are, we don't understand the ability to be resilient, to, and a host of other things, we begin to suffer the impact of anger, like in our bodies, which is basically sickness, which is basically overworked organs, which is basically a lack of creativity, a lack of balance, a lack of connection to ourselves. It's really so sad. Anyway, so let's get into other issues that are related. So remember how I said certain lifestyle choices we can make can aggravate certain things, certain health issues, whether we're genetically predisposed or not. I'm going to now delve into specifically certain circumstances I recall and experiences from the development space. Number one, you're too busy, you're too stressed emotionally, is a high distrust, tension environment. Somebody makes a statement, a case breaks out, there's been a report of sexual gender-based violence incidents. All of these things put you in a state of emotional stress, but then also you trigger chemical stress because you're worried. You're worried about the victim, you're worried about the first responders, you're worried about the government, you're worried about how the press is going to respond to the circumstance, you're worried about public opinion, you're worried about, oh yeah, so a lot of things. And so you trigger not only emotional stress, but chemical stress. And we talked about what that means for the body, right? And then we are not taught about cycle syncing, what foods we should drink different phases. So you're just working, stressed, and you're not even eating the right things. You don't even know what you're supposed to eat, like carrots during your follicular phase, or. But even if you're eating carrots, like I mentioned earlier, if you are not regulating your emotions, you're not calming your nervous system down, you're still overworking your liver. And no matter the amount of carrots you eat, those emotions are still in your body. They have not been processed, they're stuck somewhere. Yeah, the eyesight is still going to keep getting worsened. So that's one example. Another one is like there's a lot of feeling of frustration because of how slow social norms change. And that's just the thing. If you are an advocate, many advocates will tell you, oh, the world you're living in now is different from the world I was living in now, but it was such a slow change. And you don't really understand it till you actually witness that change at the expense of your health, at the expense of your time, at the expense of your energy, at the expense of your attention and your money. And so, because of this slow changing social norms, it begins to reinforce limiting beliefs that would lead to a life of stagnation and frustration. You begin to think, oh, yeah, things are difficult to get. Yeah, life is really hard. And like, remember what we said, whatever thoughts we think create new neural pathways in our brains or reinforce the old ones that are there. And then with that, our beliefs shape our reality. We attract that reality into our lives. So you see that oftentimes people would be having difficult situations in not only in the workplace but in their social life. All of the things are not working well with their friends. They don't have good money. Everybody's out to get them. Every single man on the road is misogynistic because you're hyper aware of negative things, because that's what you saturate yourself with at work. Exactly. And so, as one's your self concept shifts from a positive, trusting one that is like one of, I want to achieve a goal, I want to leave a positive impact on humanity, I want to support people. Look, let me tell you something. Only Jesus Christ, the Son of God, can save humanity, and it's quite prideful of you, just like the way you see that research shows that giving is selfish inherently. It's quite prideful of you to think that you, tiny you, is gonna come and save humanity. I know it's gonna, maybe people who know me from like the development and human rights advocacy space probably like, oh, I sound quite detached and pessimistic. No, I don't. This is just me being quite realistic. You see, philanthropy, you see the development space is one of the most highly capitalistic spaces. And we're going to get into when we talk about like financial health later in the video. So I talked about our beliefs. So it changes basically from a positive one to one where you need to be in your proving energy. You need to be in a wounded masculine energy, as my girlies will say on YouTube. And as a woman, that's one of the most disgusting energies to be in. And we all remember that whenever we have those arguments where people are like, why should girls go to school? You just slowly descend into rage, like bad rage, because proving energy does not feel good in the body. I don't want to prove anything to anybody. I don't want to educate anybody on anything. It's literally basic human rights. It's just literally basic human rights. Ugh. Anyway, so so, and this triggers a sense of insecurity, and one of our basic emotional needs is security. Is another one is love. But when one is in a space where you have to prove, you have to struggle, and when you get something, you have to compromise to the detriment of oneself, it leaves one with limiting beliefs like I'm not enough. There's never enough for me. Not me. God forbid. Let me be like a Nigerian. God forbid. But one believes like, oh, I never get enough. Things are difficult. Blah 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 blah, and you begin to attract that into your life. Another way is the exploitative anger mining within the like advocacy and the development space. And I think this is even just reflected in the world today generally. So currently right now, I was supposed to send out the everybody join newsletter, but There are protests, nationwide protests going on in Nigeria for my foreign, my foreign gems that are watching. So there are protests going on in Nigeria, and the network is suspiciously not functioning quite well. Yes, suspiciously. Now, we all understand with the wars that are breaking out across the world, with all the theatics that are going on right now, and of course with the advent of social media, we begin to see in real time the currency that is our attention. The fact that you're on my live today, you're watching this or you're watching the replay, you are you're giving me your attention, spending your time and your energy to consume this content that will leave you with life-saving, healing messages that you can apply to embody joy, reproductive wellness for a life of fulfillment and success. At the same time, when we attach our attention, we attach our energy, our time, and as such, we attach money towards things we pay attention to. And so you see all these really traumatic SGBV incidences that are reported, that go viral, and a lot of people are putting their attention and everything to it. And anger is mind, advocates' anger is our mind, people tagging you because they know you're a human rights defender. They're like, girl, come and talk your stuff, come and talk your stuff. And that is actually quite exploitative. And I know because I've been a development comms strategist on a lot of international advocacy campaigns. That is actually exploitative. While I never really came up with traumatic, clicky, titles, I did know how to evoke emotions in my work, with my writing. So, I mean, it's how we got people to become stakeholders and passionate about what's it called? Projects. However, how good is that for the emotional health of me, for example, that was creating those campaigns, of survivors or victims, or even just the random person who comes across it? And I'm not talking about the campaigns that are telling you to make a difference, make a change. I'm talking about how oftentimes I did a training for journalists, I think last year, on media reportage of sexual and gender-based violence experienced by women and children in Nigeria. And that's one of the things I really talked about, how the media is a powerful tool and you literally can disrupt people's emotional health if you are not reporting news in a gender-sensitive way. So that being said, when we focus our attention on our emotions, which are like energy emotion, shout out to El Antoinette again for that phrasing, we're spending time, we're spending money, and you might be mismanaging your time, your energy, your attention, your money on things that are not attracting the kind of life you want into your life. And of course, at that stage, you are basically just attracting a lot of chemical and emotional stress into your life. And that moves us to our next thing to talk about. Let's talk about technologically facilitated sexual and gender based violence against advocates, the exposure to that, and also in relation to, again, how it impacts our health. So you see that technologically facilitated sexual and gender based violence is any form of sexual and gender based violence that occurs within the digital space. And we see that happen a lot with a lot of advocates. People target you. When I ran the Safe House support for NSAS protesters 2020, I know the amount of just like digital harassment I experienced, critiques and criticisms from people that were within the LGBTQ community, those who were outside, even people that I knew personally who were blocking me on on their WhatsApp to post on their status that, and you know what, like, it's not all about that, like, let's focus on the real issue here, which is police brutality, even though police brutality impacts everybody and in different degrees. And I felt it was all right for me as an advocate to talk about how it impacts LGBTQ women, their safety, their sexual safety, and many other issues at hand like that. But I digress. That's just like one personal experience with me. And even years after, I experienced another form of technologically facilitated SGBV, which is what a reputation damage by misinformation campaigns. So lots of people out there, have misinformation about me, about my work, about Safe House, so many things. And this is just like my personal experience. I know a lot of like women rights advocates or just human rights advocates have experienced things like that. We have online harassment, death threats, we have stalking, cyber stalking, we have doxing, we have blacklisting. So blacklisting is you go online, you share your opinions, certain things like that, and people with power in certain fields blacklist you and
where so you realize that you may not get access to certain population. Exploitation, and you can imagine how much emotional stress that would it's currency. That's your energy, your attention. Security is sad to say. You're traveling a lot, so you hardly is what situations you're doing a lot of like writing work and campaigning work on your phone, on your laptop. So even your lifestyle of that, your eyes to that. And too overworked to metabolize the biochemical supplements your eyes need. Are you with me? Years, we're exposed to a lot of trauma, and there's no therapeutic support, there's no therapy support. You can't body a feeling of safe. So this is a situation where it's just like version support or just women's rights. That's not the only reality. And hypervigilance, and that state of hypervigilance, your body is in stress mode. We've already talked about what that does to your body. It kills you slowly. Also confirmation bias, and we know if in the worst case scenario that is confirmed, you know what that means? Mental health, struggles. It's like you just feel down, like this world is so bleak, things are tough, etc., etc., etc. It's really just, it's so sad, actually. It's actually so sad. Anyway, so mental health struggles can lead to addiction. Yeah, because it's just a lot of trauma dumping, a lot of like proximity to traumatic events, emotional stress, physical stress, chemical stress. Yeah, people can just, begin to pick up certain activities that are addicting, like alcohol, overuse of alcohol, drinking. I don't think I've ever met, I'm just gonna be honest with you, I've come across a lot of advocacy spaces where it's like people chain smoke, people drink a lot, or a lot of risky sexual behavior. It's crazy. A lot of risky sexual behavior or sexual addiction, and which comes from a place of wanting to feel empowered. And I beg you in the name of Jesus, please don't do that. I'm not even saying it right now as a Jesus babes. I'm saying it as like gem to gem. Please don't do that, because your womb is just the place of your creativity. As it's very special. It's a very special place. It's like the home for your intuition. It's just like the home. It's your creative hub, and you really don't want to turn it into a negativity dump site, because when you have situations where you experience dopamine or serotonin, you release negative emotions, and you don't want anybody releasing negativity quite literally into the place that is big. getting, you know, the connection to yourself that breeds creative ideas and gives you wealth. Your money maker, your internal GPS, as you know, someone
into a negative
side. So you also see habits like gambling, like I said, is aggravated by, you know, circumstances around one. People are not earning so much from their advocacy job, so they're doing a lot of bet Niger, like sports betting, which is gambling, and it breeds a gambling addiction. And just like smoking, and of course there's also entertainment addiction. I think that's the one I had, which is that's the one I had. You want to watch a lot of positive content, even though while you're watching, you're overly critical, you're hyper vigilant for, you know, negativity, misogyny, gender discrimination, blah 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 blah, and of course you're not getting enough sleep, which the body needs to heal and repair itself. You are carrying other people's desires. So because you're paying so much attention, like I said, attention, where you pay attention to your energy flows, quite like that's proven by neuroscience, that's proven by biology, and just proven by psychology, and also like psychosomatics. So where you're paying attention to your desires, like that's where your energy goes. Where your energy goes, you spend your time and your money. So while I was handling and battling with a lot of entertainment addiction, that's when I was learning Korean language to speak, which quite frankly, now that I've broken that entertainment addiction, it's like, anybody want to learn Korean? I'm sorry, shout out to, but like, no, I was embodying other people's desires, right? And you have a disconnection to yourself. And as a woman, when you're, or anybody generally, when you're disconnected from yourself, how can you be aware of your connection to God that is naturally given to you? So we spent about like 46 minutes just really talking about the impact of anger and all the circumstances that can trigger that anger or survival mode in you if you're working within the development or advocacy, human rights advocacy industry or space. Let's go on to the positive side and talk about like what you can do to manage that if you're already in that situation. What I did to get out of that place and just be like this place where I'm thriving. If you see the video cover for this live stream, the pink video, the extreme left, I just started working in the space, and you can see the other one on the extreme right, where I'd left the space, and you can see the change in my weight, like my weight gain. And then look at your girlie now. Jesus plus cycle thinking plus inner work. We love to see it. She's what? She's a snatched girly, period. Okay. So
you realize that
actually alludes that patriarchy is connected to the agrarian culture. That is the advent of the agricultural society. And even when we trace, even in our lives, we trace in Nigerian reality, for example. I remember like one of my newsletters I wrote about the importance of owning means of production. How Nigerian women make up almost 70% of the farmers, the rural farmers, and they less than 30% of them actually own the land that they farm on and operations. Some of them they don't even enjoy their land that is allotted to them from like inheritance. So it's a situation where, and you can trace that back to like patriarchy and like, you know, cultural history. Patriarchy and the agrarian society are quite linked biblically as curses. So I'm going to switch to my evangelist mode. So they're quite linked as sins and like curses. But the Bible tells us that Jesus Christ has come to give us life abundantly, and curseless shall not curse. He contended with death 3 days and he triumphed. So one of the revelations I caught, I think, was I just woke up one morning and I was like, I was on my leave, they kept calling me on my leave, they kept calling me on my leave, they kept calling me on my leave. I traveled, it was so annoying. I was trying to have my vacation, and I just realized like I was stressed. I knew that I was stressed. I was managing my stress. Now that's the thing. I was managing my stress because I understand that when you're in certain spaces, certain phases of life, you have to put in certain amounts of work. But at the same time, when you consistently do, you're burning out currency that is your health, your body. That's why this video is called The Health Cost I Paid to be a women's rights advocate. I mean, I proudly said that, oh yeah, I was instrumental and I was part of the team effort that made them the anti-sexual harassment in tertiary institutions in Nigeria bill to be passed by Senate. I was behind like so many other things, campaigns like the Women's Lives Matter, Women Manifesto, you know, media coverage and coordination, and just a lot of things like from like UN projects to amplify change projects to just like a bunch of things. British Council, heck, a lot of things. It's good to say that, but at what expense? At what expense? When I can't sleep well, I'm in pain, I'm growing hair in like places I should not be growing hair in. I was always walking about with flagyl in my purse. I've said that before. Because of irritable bowel syndrome, because of always being in an anxious state, because I was not feeding my body what it needed to be fed. I wasn't doing what I needed to do at certain phases of my cycle. And I wasn't regulating my nervous system or taking rest and heal. And I was disconnected from God, because if I was connected to God,
Was
always had that relationship with God, but it got lukewarm. I'll just be honest with you. It got lukewarm, and a girl could be bothered less, but now it's different. We thank God for that. So you need to understand that you cannot fight the principality of patriarchy with the principality of capitalism. It just can't work. And the development space is highly capitalistic. Someone is at the top. I forgot to mention that when we were talking about financially unhealthy. Someone is at the top making millions, and they're giving you peanuts in like in their account. It's not even up to like $100 a month. You can't use it to do anything. You want to self-develop yourself, nothing. You can't do it to just shit, and you're doing all the labor. You are doing all the labor. You're supposed to empower communities, but like it is a struggle to sustainably empower them, because we know how the development space is structured. Let me not open everybody's ass right now on like this live stream. So that being said, it's only we can prevail over these principalities, and we just put it that way, because their systems and their cultures and their like they're not physical beings. Do you know what I mean? And so the first step is you need to find healing in Christ Jesus. If you're not like a Christian, if you're not giving your life to Christ, please consider doing it. If you are and you've been lukewarm, go back to God and surrender. Like the Bible even says it, like I think 1 Peter 5 or so. Cast all yours and your anxiety and your worries onto God, and put your trust in Him. Like that's not, like just do it. Just do that. Just say like, God, this is what I'm going through. And I went through a phase where I when I quit my job, I started like a new business. Things were going well, and things weren't going so well. And I went to God. I'm like, God, Jesus, I'm struggling. Why am I struggling? Help me. And then I just remember like, then I was also, my body was finally in a space where it could heal, it could rest and heal. So all these things that were in my body were just coming out. It was very scary. They were just coming out. It was very scary. And I remember that one of the things God laid on my heart was cycle syncing, and I went to do my research. And one of the best things I did was learning more about like naturopath herbs and spices from my mom, and implementing those knowledge, doing more research on cycle syncing, and using that basically to change my life. If you want a guide on that, I have a guide. You can buy it through the link in the video description. So you find healing through Jesus Christ, and you surrender your challenges to Him. You begin to cycle sync so that you can begin to chemically support your body to heal. And you begin to build a deeper connection to yourself. And immediately you're in that space, you have, number one, a boost in your well-being. Number two, increased creativity. Number three, the appropriate energy and knowledge of how to manage yourself, to be creative and to execute innovatively what you've created, right? Or the creative idea you've come up with, to get wealth, and then be in a place to appropriately manage the wealth, because what you've regulated your nervous system. So you're in a place where your body, not just your mind, is in a space where it can absorb all of that without you fumbling. A great way to start, if you don't know how to start with relation to like praying for healing from Jesus, from God, is to pray for the Holy Spirit and pray that God blesses you of the Spirit. Galatians 5:22, like joy, love, peace, patience, perseverance, self-control, things like that. Those are high vibrational states. Or like anger, or like fear, or like worry, or like sadness. Low vibrational states that literally steal your life force and kill you. Okay, so let's just wrap this up with some of the lessons I have learned going along the way. Is number one, sorry, let me go through my notes to make sure we covered everything. Yes, okay, I've talked about be grounded in God, cycle syncing, also regulating your nervous system, thinking positive thoughts that trigger good, that do not trigger chemical or emotional stress in you. You could list positive affirmations on like your self-love, change your self-concept, do some inner work. All those limiting beliefs you may have picked up in the development space, ask yourself, why do I think I don't deserve this? Why do I feel I should not receive this? Do I think good things have to be struggled for? Questions like that. You also need to practice somatic body healing exercises to expel your anger. Like, you know, when you could tell during the heated, I took a deep breath in and I exhaled it and then I continued. That was me expelling like just the sadness that came up within me. Right, so breathing exercises, you can listen to healing frequencies, you could do grounding work, these are all just grounding works, like to calm your nervous system anyway. You could do tapping like this, and you can also do like the walking barefooted in the soil. With the soil, the nature, the land has the ability to draw out negative energies from our bodies. So fascinating. Or if you need the opposite, where you need to have more flow in your body, taking a cool shower or going for a swim in a natural body of water, and things like that. Of course, you have to meticulously protect what you pay your attention to. I've talked about that before. Like Bible, guard your eyes, guard your mouth, guard your feet, where it goes, your womb, who you're intimate with, also like your creative ideas, who do you share them with. So also just like reflective stream of conscious journaling can also help you with releasing anger, especially during your luteal phase. So I go in depthly into the luteal phase in my Niger cycle syncing guide. But during that phase, on one hand, you have a reduction in serotonin. During the luteal phase, you have a reduction in like serotonin, that's the happy hormones, but you have an increase, or the happy neurotransmitters rather. So you have an increase in progesterone, which is a hormone. So serotonin is a neurotransmitter, and then progesterone is a hormone, right? So it's an hormone that is a reproductive hormone that is most peaked, most prevalent during your luteal phase. Your luteal phase is usually 10 to 14 days before your menstrual period, and it's a time where you're just like, most people experience PMS symptoms, and both of those things, that's increase in the levels of your progesterone, the hormones, and the reduced levels of your serotonin, the happy thingy. It's both contributes to moodiness, impatience, but you can also be more observant and more meticulous. So at the end of the day, that means like you have a choice depending on how you regulate your nervous system, how you boost your immune system, how you fuel your body, because food is fuel and medicine. So it depends on all these things, and also how you are emotionally also regulated. If whatever is happening in your external circumstance, like your external environment, for example, if you are well regulated, even if you're moody, you understand, okay, I know this is why I'm moody. I know that if I feel this way, I can just journal. I could go ahead and journal, reflectively journal whatever tense or intense emotions that someone's actions triggers in me, because I don't want to miss out on the time when I am hormonally supported to be more observant, to be more meticulous, which is why the luteal phase is the best phase in our cycle for you to conclude plans, conclude projects, and to review them. Isn't God just wonderful? And we're not just wonderfully. If you want to learn more, get my guide. I can't say it enough. I can't recommend it enough. So that being said, yes, let's talk about wrapping up some things I've observed. Yes, so thank you for staying so far in the video. I've had such a lovely time chatting with you. Let's talk about the lessons I have. Number one is that if you want to cry. Be a cry girly. Crying is one of the most useful ways our bodies release harmful hormones and neurotransmitters that are associated with stress and sadness. Just let it go. Cry. Have a good cry. I worked with someone who was in a more visionary position, and she would just, when things would go down and at the peak of emotionally stressed full periods, she would cry. I mean, I had my own way of processing, like, my emotions and regulating my own nervous system. I mean, I feel like if I did not have my own system of care, which I had built after working in, oh, God so said, wow, beauty, who made it? Not me, I said my supervisor. So, and I'm advising that you cry actually. If you find yourself in a place where you are going through immense emotional stress, it's advisable you cry. That's actually the best thing you can do for your body. I'm not going to say it's better than breath work or tapping, but if your body is called to cry, don't hold back, just cry. Societal expectations of maturity or emotional regulation sometimes can limit us from taking care of ourselves, our emotional health, right? So, that being said, all things work together for good will be the next lesson I learned. Don't carry regrets and resentment in your heart. Know that in whatever space you find yourself, soak up as much skill set as you can. Soak up as much skill set as you can. I think what I've learned a lot from the spaces I've worked in, so many skills that I've carried on now into my different businesses and are helping me out so much. So don't resent anything. There are lessons to be learned from even bad experiences. All the skills you've learned, every month set a goal for yourself. I want to improve this skill. You want to learn how to set up Zoom conferences very well. Then a month at work, volunteer for it if it's not a task that's usually assigned to you. Learn everything you need to learn. That goes on your CV. That goes for you to utilize yourself to, basically just earn money or put towards creating your own creative projects. Because of course, if you're gonna have like a master class, you already know how to handle Zoom because you learn from your work. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Okay, another thing is don't get so down in the depressive, anxious states because of confirmation bias, because of all the negativity around you. You think everybody's a bad person, you think every man is misogynistic, you think every woman is a backbiter because of negativity in the space. Don't do that. You need to build your contacts and your network from people around you. Of course, people around you that you pull closer with, people that are aligned with your vision. Just be dragging people for dragging sake. People that are, God says beauty and brains are unbelievably combination. Thank you. My brain was about to do that thing where I go into like a whole argument about that compliments as being problematic or whatever. Thank you, I appreciate it. Another thing is to pray for healing for your body organs, your heart, your mind, your womb, especially. There are lots of Bible verses. In fact, one of my favorites is like, God bounds up the brokenhearted and he heals them. Like, God cares about your emotional health a lot. I know times when he has given me nudgings to do stuff, and when I obeyed, I know what that meant for me. When I disobeyed, I knew that okay, God was trying to protect my emotions. He was trying to protect my heart, because the Bible says, guard your heart, from out of it flows matters of life. Heart is such an important gateway. And how can people get to your heart? What you see, what you hear, what you say, where you go, who you share your creative ideas from your womb with, who you are sexually intimate with. All of these things you need to pray for healing. God, heal my heart from bitterness. God, heal my heart from brokenness. God, heal my heart from literal heart defect that comes from the immense emotional labor and emotional stress one has been for years. Also, being available to listen to instructions, listen to your intuition, listen to the Holy Spirit's guidance, listen to God's instructions. Sometimes you are there, God wants you to be there, he uses you to do the work of actually, working for the good of humanity. When it's your time to leave. Trust me, leave, so that whatever damage is done, it can be nipped in the bud and you can receive your healing and move on to your next assignment. You need to do an energetic cleanse. I know I had to do one as directed by God. It was my first time doing that, and that was quite surprising. It was quite the experience, I'll put it that way. You need to do an energetic cleanse. When you leave the development space, when you leave wherever you're working, whatever it is, you need to go and do an energetic cleanse. Get you good quality sea salt, the pipe, and just pray to God, as pour it in some water. Use that water to wash your clothes, wash your home. If you can't give away the clothes that you remember having bad days in, having being exposed to a lot of maybe traumatic experiences, if you were a sexual and gender-based violence responder, you can give out those clothes. Anything that has bad vibes, just maybe that was the day that somebody insulted you and you guys went to go and submit some form of like petition or application or something and has bad vibes. Yeah, just give it. Who can you trust? God so says that. In relation to what? Is it giving your clothes or the energetic cleanse or what? You can trust God. Follow God's direction. That's what I've been saying in this video trial. I literally follow God's direction. If you are led to throw your clothes in the trash, please, my dear, throw your clothes in the trash. You know, but I'm more of like a sustainability girly. Like those clothes are probably going to end up in some landfill or land mine somewhere, so it's better to just extend their usage by giving it to someone else. That's just where the advice came from. Yeah, another thing is having a dynamic well-being routine. I talked about this in my last live stream on where I talked about my success strategy to boost your productivity, right? So you need a dynamic well-being routine. You need to have things that you do to take care of your spiritual health, of your mental health, of your emotional health, of your physical health, of your financial health, of your social health. In the morning, in the afternoon, in the night. It could be drinking water. It could be something that's drinking water. It could be brushing your teeth before you go to bed. It could be taking a walk after eating with the sun out. You know, you acclimating yourself to the changing sun, thanks to global warming, and at the same time you getting vitamin D. You know, it could be simple things like that. It could be saying a prayer hourly, just a prayer. Oh God, be with me, guide me this hour. You know, blah, blah, blah. Something simple. It could be you cycle syncing, or you eat the different phases of your menstrual cycle. Another thing to say is to start cycle. A woman and you're misaligned with the 4 phases of your cycle. You're not eating what you need to eat. You're not doing the work activities that you're hormonally supported to do at certain parts of the time. Change that. God wants you to get connected with yourself. I highly recommend you getting connected with yourself, and not just because of my guy, but because I know the immense positive impact cycle syncing has been in my life, and I want that for you. Another thing you can do is you can find a path. So you have all these skills from the development space. You could probably take like your skills and literally work on like Wall Street in the US. Like that's how good you are, because the development space is that fast paced. I'm telling you, you could work as a stockbroker in real time. You could work as anything. There's so many transferable skills, from interpersonal skills, soft skills, to actually professional skills, proficiency skills, audits of everything you have, all your skills, even down to how to write minutes in letters. People pay money for that. You can be virtuous. So there's so many things. And when you take that skills, you look at your vision for your life, you'll see where they interlap, and you know the next steps you need to take. You can also book a clarity session from me. I do that. I'll put a link in the video description so you can access that. And with that, we've come to the end of my personal video essay on the deadly impact of rage, the health cost I paid to be a woman's rights advocate in Nigeria. And this video kind of feels like closing the door on a part of my life that was about 5 years long, half a decade, and positive response, also not so positive experiences, wonderful people, also not so wonderful people, and just a lot of life lessons. But I just want to thank God. And so everybody that has gotten to the end of this live stream with me, we've talked about 3 things: the impact of unprocessed anger on our bodies. We talked about why you should protect your health and your creativity. We've also talked about the reality of the advocacy space and how that impacts your health as a woman advocate. And last, I've shared how you can protect your health and your wealth with lessons I've learned. So that being said, I just want to say I pray that the God Almighty heals each and every one of us. We all know what we're dealing with in our private lives. I pray God heals you. I pray God directs you. And I pray that God Almighty blesses you with abundance. All right, gems, thank you for staying for this live stream. I'll see you next week. Pray for us in Nigeria that the nationwide protests gets less violent, and of course, you know, the needs of the citizens are met and everybody is safe and sound. Bye, gems.